No single word is more used, overused, misunderstood, and misrepresented in today's Africa than the word conservation. Yet that word and what it actually represents, or could represent to the continent of Africa, is the front line of a battle raging across increasingly divided opinions, both in Africa and the world abroad. To the hunter, legal, regulated sport hunting is the very heartbeat of sound, science-based conservation. We understand from boots on the ground experience the proven benefits of a healthy hunting industry to both the wildlife and, equally important, the people of Africa. It is a fact that many people do not share our view. Sadly, some people refuse to open their mind to the concept of hunting as a driving engine of conservation. Fortunately, there is a large under or misinformed portion of our planet's people who are willing to listen and learn the time-tested truth about modern wildlife conservation. And it is those people we must tell our story to. The fate of Africa's wildlife and her wild places depend on our ability to share her realities. Welcome to the truth. Welcome to Dallas Safari Club's Tracks Across Africa. For time eternal, man in Africa, out of the most basic necessity, has been a hunter. I wasn't born an African, but I have traveled to and hunted most of her great game fields, and I am proud, as I'm sure you are, to call myself a hunter, and I am comfortable doing it in any social circle. A grim reality in today's Africa is that it is not the need to feed families that drives some men to seek the destruction of wildlife. Human greed and financial gain are the driving forces behind the criminal activity and murderous waste we know as poaching. Not to be confused by ignorance or deceit with legal sport hunting. In this age of social media, information and an equal amount of misinformation bombard the world's population with messaging that is often biased. This information is assembled in a manner purposely designed to persuade opinion rather than to promote fact. I assure you, politics does not have the market cornered when it comes to fake news. The intermingling of the term legal, regulated sport hunting with the unregulated and criminal act of poaching is a perfect example. I'm tired of watching anti-hunting groups and animal rights activists purposely use the words hunting and poaching as an interchangeable description, especially when discussing the pursuit and eventual harvest of wildlife, regardless of the legality. Poaching is a criminal act. I have personally seen the poachers in action across East and Southern Africa. The suffering and waste that follows in their wake are blood-covered proof that the poacher doesn't give a damn about ethics, game management, or the long-term effects on species populations. His soul is not moved in the slightest by the lingering and horrific physical suffering endured by the wildlife he ruthlessly targets. His goal is simple: to avoid capture and to apply his illicit activity for personal gain, despite the ravages it brings to the wildlife. The nightmare in the mind of the poacher And biggest threat to his very existence and illegal trade is me and you and everyone that understands and supports regulated sport hunting in Africa. Regulated hunting based on scientific data in place of emotion is the very definition of conservation in action. Today's hunter conservationist understands the principle of sustainable harvest to the point where they not only support but demand regulated harvest. To the true sportsman, the overall health and sustainability of the game they love is their ultimate goal, not the short-time financial gain sought by the poacher. Words have meaning, and words have power.
The hunting world is heading to Atlanta for DSC's 2025 Convention and Sporting Expo, January 9th through 12th. Put the DSC Convention in Atlanta on your calendar.
One of the great truths I have observed time and again in my hunting and travels across the Dark Continent is that wherever local people see wildlife as a thing that brings value to their daily life, they become a champion for its survival. And nothing in today's Africa is more advantageous to the rural peoples of Africa than a healthy safari industry. The drum of change beats slowly in the life of rural Africans. The exploding human population across the continent, combined with substandard of living conditions, leaves most rural Africans in a daily struggle for survival. This situation leaves both the people and the wildlife that live among them in a precarious position. Rural Africans' lifestyle has changed but little in generations. Local people survive by subsistence farming, tending small herds, and fishing. Another means of survival is hunting, which all too often means cruel and indiscriminate snaring. This is the classic example of self-employment being the only employment. Most safari hunting is conducted in remote areas. Hunting safaris tend to operate in these wilderness areas where there is no industry, no large-scale tourism, and no jobs providing much-needed employment. Local Africans find employment as trackers, skinners, road builders, and assist in all areas necessary to maintaining the safari camp, thus ensuring your safari experience is a memorable one. Africans living in game country quickly learn that a safari means a supply of meat, as well as cash. And trust me, both are scarce, life-saving commodities in today's Africa. Yet these simple people understand that continued safari employment depends on healthy game populations. Instead of a nuisance to their crops and herds, they now view wildlife as an important resource that brings the benefit of hunting to their community. In a third world economy, wildlife must pay its way to be allowed to survive. The anti-hunting community, and even those folks who simply want the best for wildlife, must face a truth being played out over much of Africa, that the employment offered by a thriving safari hunting industry is critical to the survival of both the people and the wildlife. Unfortunately, goodwill and misguided activism does not feed people or protect wildlife. Hunters' dollars do both.
This is a hunt for one of wild Africa's most dangerous game animals. I'm Phil Massaro, and this is nothing shy of a dream come true.
I can see him, let's go a bit faster. Okay, there he is. Take him when you're ready. Shot felt good, huh? Well done. Watch them. Whatever you want to do. Hey, shoot him.
A little bit of a gunfight, huh? Works for me.
Well done. Good shooting.
Good job.
Good shooting.
Yes. One of the irrefutable benefits of the African safari is the provision of protein to the local communities. Now, our buffalo, while it was a wonderful experience for me, and you know, it employs people in the hunting end of things, these are the wives and families of those people that it employs. So what you're seeing here is the distribution of the meat. The entire village lines up in a very neat fashion. The meat is cut, and each family gets a piece. Now, we're talking about families with small children, as you can see. They don't have the ability to go to a grocery store. So this is one of the irrefutable benefits of a hunting safari. Not only do the hunters' dollars employ people and build up the local economy, this is one of the direct, tangible results that you see meat being handed to the people. It's a source of protein in a protein-starved environment. No matter what light hunting is portrayed in, this is one of those points that you really can't argue with. It benefits the community.
Since we're on the topic of purposely misrepresenting the truth, let's take a hard look at the anti-hunting element's go-to description when they debate our sport. We are not sportsmen or women, outdoors people, or even hunters. We are universally described in these circles as trophy hunters. Let's pull the covers back on that little lie. The African safari is an adventure that produces many tangible benefits. Without question, the breathtaking beauty of the Dark Continent, combined with their wondrous variety of wildlife, feeds our human soul. But since man made his first appearance in his role as a hunter, he has sustained himself through the rich bounty of protein that his skill and courage and efforts have produced. Today's hunter conservationist understands that the taking of wildlife still offers a vital byproduct: the wise and ethical utilization of all game meat taken on safari. Anti-hunters, and those who are simply misinformed, see sport hunting as simply a quest for trophies. Under this scenario, the utilization of game meat is either ignored or purposely left out of the conversation. An indisputable fact is that game meat taken through legal sport hunting is never wasted. In fact, its use is a cornerstone of wildlife conservation in modern Africa. The need for protein is a human reality, and the rural African is protein starved. He views wildlife in the most basic terms, as a way to feed his family. Today's Africa offers him two contrasting choices in his bid for survival. The rural African, who lives in country where wildlife does not have the value provided by sport hunting, will resort to illegal poaching to put meat in his pot. He cares not for sustainable harvest, humane hunting methods, or the long-term survivability of the wildlife. His needs are immediate, as are his methods. By contrast, in areas where regulated sport hunting exists, both the wildlife and the local community coexist and become partners in a working model of modern conservation. The safari hunting industry provides many benefits to the local community. In the most basic terms, employment opportunities provide much needed income for rural Africans, a rare benefit in an impoverished land. While this economic benefit is welcome, the most tangible reward the safari hunting industry provides rural Africans is the abundance of game meat, legally taken and freely shared with local communities. Now the rural African sees wildlife as a benefit to his family and a resource to be protected, not exploited. And lucky is the game that lives in such areas, for their species' long-term survival is assured through the sustainable harvest that regulated sport hunting assures.
Again. Come kneel down here.
Way to go. Was that fun or what? Zimbabwe, great place. Thanks, Mark. Boy, there's no ground shrinkage with these animals, is there?
Nah, they just get bigger.
They're big.
You put in a good shot, it stunned him to start with. And as he went away, he did what every good client should do and kept shooting him as you could see him. So he went down fairly quickly and you put in a couple of insurance shots and you got yourself here a nice respectable elephant. Complete your big 5 and dangerous 7. Well done.
Thanks, Mark. Lifts that leg up, they cut it off, and drop it right in the back of that truck. There's 25% of the animal right there. We'll go to the back right now, and probably in about 25 minutes, 30 minutes, everything's gone. But every one of these people that are here right now are going to be taking home meat for their family. And that's a good thing.
DSC's Tracks Across Africa has been presented by DSC, Conservation Education Advocacy, Hornady, accurate, deadly, dependable, Ripcord Rescue Travel Protection, Trigicon, brilliant aiming solutions, The Wildlife Gallery, Sam Hunter Training, and by Remington, a new era.
The eternal heart of the safari life is the campfire. And it's fitting that one of Africa's most noted conservation success stories was named after this iconic symbol of Africa. Today, a new vision of possibilities continues to burn bright in the field of wildlife conservation. Safari hunters pay significant license and trophy fees for the privilege of hunting Africa's game. And these fees are critical to the management of Africa's wildlife. But in the past, these fees had stayed with the national authorities. The rural Africans saw little direct benefit from the hunting of wildlife that they tolerate or try to obliterate in their fields and on the edges of their villages. The country of Zimbabwe, long recognized as a premier safari hunting destination, recognized this problem and created a visionary program to address the issue. Established in 1982, Zimbabwe's Campfire Program. Campfire stands for Communal Area Management Program for Indigenous Resources. This was one of the first wildlife management initiatives that directly involved local, rural Africans in the management of their wildlife. The program's goal was to ensure that the local Africans received direct benefit from safari hunting in their area. Funds received directly from safari hunting are used to build schools, irrigation and wells for clean water, medical clinics, and provide essential farm equipment. The Campfire program has been a stunning success, creating a situation where rural Africans protect their wildlife and welcome safari hunting because of the direct benefit to their community. Other countries have followed Zimbabwe's lead and have instituted similar programs to meet the challenges of wildlife conservation in their rural communities. Ultimately, the future of Africa's wildlife depends on the support of all Africans. I have always appreciated the truth in the following phrase: the only constant in Africa is change. Africa and her treasure of wildlife are at a crossroads such as the continent has never experienced. And coming changes, be they good or bad, will be based on the policies mankind implements in this last Garden of Eden. Misguided wildlife policies based on both emotions and greed must be replaced by science-based decisions that put emphasis on the well-being of both Africa's wildlife and her people. The greatest threat to Africa may not be the poacher or the plow. It is the lack of understanding, often of well-meaning non-Africans, who depend on biased reporting and agenda-driven social media outlets to shape a dangerously inaccurate view of the realities facing wild Africa. Our Tracks Across Africa series, in close association with our partners at Dallas Safari Club and Outdoor Channel, will continue to shine the light of truth on the conservation through hunting narrative. Africa is counting.